Hey, yo, welcome here, man. Just a quick take. Um, I don't really do the breaking news type thingy all the time, so it's not really one of those, but it is a quick topic discussion as we go into this next game against the Chicago Bears here. Word was put out that Brian Daboll was potentially going to be fired after that Denver Broncos collapse, which is not surprising to hear, really. I mean, the to hear that the frustrations after that game might have had them in the vibes of you about to fire this guy, is not surprising to hear at all. To hear that the they speak about it, that's what I'm saying. I don't really do the breaking news thing all the time because yeah, I mean, after that collapse, man, it was a historic collapse. There shouldn't be many surprises about the potential of him being fired, but they do it right after that game. Yeah, maybe, but the G-men, the Giants organization, they don't really do the mid-season firing things. Now, there's still a lot of games to go, a long season, a long way to go. So they can potentially, maybe, he could, if things fall apart so much that he can find himself like down in the depths of with Joe Judge and shit like that, that maybe he might get a firing, but with that, it's a little different because the offensive play that we are getting is not bad or like just not producing anything at all. So where it's just bad all the time. We do get some promising play out of the rookie talents that we have here and stuff like that. And that's not fully attached to Brian Daboll when I say this now, you know what I'm saying? And it's not even like, we're overly concerned that, Daboll being fired in the point of the season here is going to drastically change how Jaxson Darts will develop. And I don't think it's that sense in the building, and I don't have that sense myself, and maybe a lot of other fans probably don't either, of course. But like, yeah, it's not really like that with Brian Daboll and Jaxson Darts as far as Jaxson Darts needing Brian Daboll to be there in general like that, as far as his own play design, the scheming, and all that shit is important, of course, and plays out in the games with scripted first 15 plays of the game, something like that. But yeah, no. So it's big news here that he might have been fired, which is interesting, but not like I say, not surprising because it was such a bad fucking loss. But like interesting to hear now when the general consensus around the team isn't necessarily only about Brian Daboll because Joe Schoen is not like excusing any of this since the team has been over these last 4 years. They've been here the whole time together, and it just has not really been that awesome to see a lot of the time. Maybe we got this year has not even completed yet. So to say this year is like, oh, okay, a good year out of them, it's still 9 games away, 9 games to go. Um, but like the previous seasons, there's like one in there. And even that one was kind of high as far as what the offense and what we were seeing out of everything on the weekly consistently. Or at least after the start of the season, as I did in my last video, we went on a nice record for the first half, and then on the back end, things just slipped away, on a 3-5 point. Um, yeah, so that's the news, I guess. In this though, like with Joe Schoen in the mix of this as well, to fire. And here's you can just my kind of look at it, view and opinion, whatever you want to call it, as far as how to make the upper front office is looking at this possibly or maybe or whatever, is that, to fire Brian Daboll when you already plan on firing both of them. Why? No, don't waste the time doing that, man. That's just gonna cause, you know, undue uh whatever in the process of what it's going to be going down eventually at the end of the season, possibly, likely, if that record doesn't improve, because it's still by the predict guesstimation, they're still inside of that, but they have to win a lot of they have to win out like the majority of the games. There are 8 games left. They got to win like 7 out of 8 of them to even hit my predicted guesstimation on it. So whatever that record would need to be at this point for them to really secure their positions into next season, as the GM of the team and the head coach of the team is like I say, it was something we'll see to come. But with the upper front end ownership, it's not even the. And here's another thing too, is that we speak about this like we got we're speaking about it, kind of like it's mirroring this equation of this when it might not have been mirror. This is a co-ownership with this team. There's Mara and Tish. Uh, so maybe Tish was the one that was ready to really pull the plug on the whole thing, and Mara, was John Mayer and company and all whatever else, Tim McDonald, etc. Um, were the ones that really weren't trying to do that. Who knows? I don't know all the details of this rumor about Brian Daboll potentially being fired, but that's pretty much, I guess, my opinion on it. As far as firing him midseason, not really a thing that the Giants do. You are getting pretty good play out of the quarterback position right now, and this is supposed to be Brian Daboll's strengths. So we're seeing him put on them strengths, right? This is not one of his weaknesses. Is supposedly being about the QB. His weaknesses around the game seem to be about completing 4 quarters if we have to mention weaknesses all the fucking time. You know what I'm saying? And when we're speaking about those things, it's not like a weakness in the fact that the man can't complete the game. No, he has strengths in that area as well. It's just that when the game gets to a certain point, it seems that the Denver game, the Cowboys game, and then the Saints game just not being great, man. It brings into question. That's just this season. We have 3 games just in this season they're talking about. You know what I mean? And like you go back to the previous years, and there's even more and more. There's like twice as much through those because we've only completed half the fucking season at this point. So who knows what other wild shit the Giants can put on as far as game day stuff that we see go on. And hopefully they pull out some wins. Hopefully some wild ass wins instead of these crazy ass L's that they be taking all the time. Because as far as this rumor and the things that we've already spoken about last year, or years before that, but last year primarily speaking here, and how the team went 3-win record, 3-14. How that was really looking even on the coaching staff and GM back then when we talking about some of the things we've been getting out of talent. Not even though the first 2 drafts with the team, 3 drafts with the team, maybe, starting with at least Neighbors was a good pick for it. But, just the later in depth picks in those weren't always the best. A lot of those players aren't starters or even developmental really players on the team right now. Names we don't really hear about, like Izudu or something like that. Uh, that was drafted by Shane and other players, and that's not even mentioning the free agents, which is really probably the biggest thing. The drafting has only slightly been getting better, and we're having to see turnover now in our players, like Jaxson Dart or Abdul Carter, or Cam Skittle was a nice later round pick, but Malik Neighbors, the earlier picks with this team aren't always something that you could just give a GM as full credits for. You give them the proper credits for it and everything, but it's not like, oh, you went out of your way to find this talent when a lot of these guys are already displaying a lot of their top end play before they come into the NFL. So you understand that they are already eyes on them. So when it comes down to the in-depth picks, is where Joe Schoen is probably showing some of his ineptness. We'll just say it like that. When it has come to developing the Giants. So when I hear the rumors about Brian Daboll, yeah, Brian Daboll, that's obvious, and especially from just the record itself and the records previously. But Joe Schoen is not as front forward in the conversation when it comes to the changes that the Giants as an organization might, probably should, or could make regarding getting better action and better development out of his talents. And it's like I was saying, that's one thing in the drafting, which is not, all shade, but it is a major part of it because a lot of those also include free agent moves and some of the production and the return on the investment, I guess we'll have to say it like that. Keeping in the books that the salary and all that shit is up in the front office. The return on investments to some of this stuff has not been good. I try not to speak about the players on the team in such a way where I feel like I'm degrading or demeaning their talent on the field. Numbing human beings is already automatic around here in this channel. If you haven't known, it's always been a thing about this channel. Players get hurt and things like that, and we keep our discussions around these things, around the Giants or even the front office stuff, mainly on field or in the building, and that immediate area. I don't go out of my way to search out and you know, find other things about these players to dislike. You feel what I'm saying here? Not that I dislike any of them. It's just that, I don't go out on my way to. And it's not like I'm not interested. I hope they're doing well, just like everybody that come by this channel and shit like that is doing well. It's just that's something with this that I try to keep this channel too, right? Because I'm not a tabloid chaser, I guess I say like that. I don't know how to fucking put it, but I try not to be at least. But with this team here and with Joe Schoen and speaking about some of his talents like a Devin Singletary, who came in immediately after Saquon Barkley, and we already know how that season went. And then even when bringing in Tracy Jr. as a good addition as a later round pick, for him to come in and be, such a front in the running back room when we have invested this in Devin Singletary, we've only gotten so much good play and usage from the coaching staff and the scheming and offense staff out of that. Are the questions that really come into why Jay Shane is also, Joe Schoen is also in this discussion when we hear about Brian Daboll potentially being fired after that Denver game. I mean, you can fire the GM after the Denver game too. They both, that's what I'm saying. They couldn't fire both after the Denver game because they both would have deserved or are deserving to come into question with their positions as head coach or GM into next season. And I don't feel like, necessarily we be losing anything as far as Joe Schoen and what he has draft production and free agent moves again. Also very close 1A, 1B in there, really. If you want to put 1A as the free agent moves and then 1B as some of the draft stuff, because recently we've been getting the last draft and we're waiting for this one, but the draft before this, when we've known the selection was supposed to be really something like a Malik Neighbors, and then et cetera, with Abdul Carter here, and then Jaxson Dart, who was a fairly respected prospect, fairly good prospect. Watched plenty of him myself. So when you heard his name called, it wasn't as out of nowhere as something else, that he might have had before. Um, and that's what's going to spell into these last 9 games with 9 games to go with Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen. That's just my little piece on it. And I just, to hear the rumors like, yeah, it's typical. Okay, it's typical for that to come out around this time because whatever push the PR push the Giants like to put out there for their shit, bro, is how it comes through. And that's just for me a distraction from hearing more about what should really be in the conversation along with Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen. They shouldn't be mentioned without each other. They came in together with each other and and they've made changes at other positions along with each other when they fired Wink Martindale, now brought in Shane Bone, offensive line changes and other positional changes as far as coaching. You know what I'm saying here? That's Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen. And then it comes down to the personnel moves, which some might not feel are that bad when you talk about the free agent moves or some of the drafting stuff. But then you look at the smaller details like Graham Gano here and how this team has not been able to field a fucking special teams kicker a one that can be out there every game or whatever other kick in a game, not even another game, but damn, multiple kicks in a game to even do that. And that's no disrespect again to the probably Hall of Fame type career that Graham Gano has had. In the context of this, okay, this is proper context. I told you about this, and it's the proper context that I'm trying to apply here when I'm speaking about Joe Schoen and some of the talents that he has acquired in free agency and drafting. Okay, the talents are the talents, and the people are the people, the human beings. So that's the blame. Okay, and Joe Schoen is a human being as well. Okay, so we're not trying to take it any much further than that. Or I'm not trying to take it much further than that. So yeah, um, yeah, but that's really is what it is with this guy, Joe Schoen. since he has arrived. Um, Chicago game is coming up. Hopefully, play a good game. Hopefully, everybody gets rested up and everything like that, and ready for the game. Our bye week is not even coming up after the Chicago game. We're gonna have 4 games to go after we come out of the bye. So that's a refresher. So this is another 3 games to go here before we even think about the bye or can get into the bye. And that's Chicago here, Green Bay, and then Detroit in there in the mix um, as well. So we'll see here. We'll see here. Thank y'all for checking us out. If you got anything else, man? How y'all feel about really how if you got something else and how you feel about Joe Schoen, man, and Brian Daboll? I guess my question is here: do you feel like it should be just Brian Daboll out and leave Joe Schoen? Do you feel like it should be Joe Schoen out and the Brian Daboll here? Because whatever you feel like both should stay. I would definitely want to hear if you feel like both should stay. Definitely that comment if you feel like both of them should stay. Okay, that's the one that everybody in the fan was waiting to see somebody say and just look at them like, yeah, okay, we gotta get them out with this guy too, joking and shit like that. But um, yeah, that's it though. That's it. Um, and anything else I had on it? No, no, that's it. Peace.